I have had this for a bit now, and a few people ask me about it, so here is my take. This is an under-sink reverse osmosis water filter system that makes filtered drinking water from a separate faucet. It is mainly for people who want water that tastes cleaner than tap, who use a lot of filtered water every day, and who do not want a big storage tank taking up the whole cabinet. If you have a bigger household, if you cook a lot, if you fill water bottles all day, or if you are just tired of waiting on slow filtered water, this is the kind of setup that makes sense. What made me try it was pretty simple. I wanted something that could keep up with normal life in my kitchen without me planning around it. I have used slower systems before, and I would catch myself not using filtered water for cooking because it took too long to fill a pot. I also wanted my under-sink space back. This unit is tankless, so it is a single main box instead of a tank plus a filter rack, and that one decision changes the whole feel under the sink. On the counter, you just see the dedicated faucet. Under the sink, the main unit looks like a clean white rectangle. It feels solid enough, not flimsy, and the way it is laid out makes sense when you are the person who has to live with it. The filters face forward, which sounds like a small detail, but it matters when you are on your knees in a cabinet trying not to bang your head on the disposal. I can reach in, twist a filter, and pull it out without fighting the whole system. The tubing situation is also calmer than some older reverse osmosis systems I have installed. There are still hoses, because of course there are, but it is not a messy octopus of lines going everywhere. The faucet is the part I feel mixed about. It looks modern, and it has a small screen that shows the total dissolved solids reading and the filter life. It also lets me set a dispense volume, which I use more than I expected. I will hit a set amount for coffee or a water bottle and let it run while I do something else. That part is actually useful. What I did not love is that the style is very specific. If your kitchen has warmer hardware like brass, this faucet can look like it came from a different room. Mine also loosened a little over time. Not a disaster, but I had to tighten it, and I did not expect to be doing that. Setup was not the quick, easy half-hour project that some people expect. I do not mind home projects, and I have done basic plumbing work, but this still took me a while. Drilling the counter for the faucet was the point of no return, and that part will intimidate a lot of people. Then there is the drain saddle, which is always awkward because you are lining it up on a drain pipe you do not really want to mess up. The hoses are color-coded, and the instructions are decent, but I still watch videos to cross-check myself because I did not want to redo it later. The biggest surprise in my case was power. This system needs to be plugged in all the time. My outlet under the sink was tied to the garbage disposal switch, which meant the filter would lose power whenever the switch was off. That does not work. I ended up having to get that changed so the outlet stayed on. If you are thinking about buying this, take 2 minutes and check your under-sink outlet situation, because that can turn into a real delay. Once it was installed and running, daily use has been the easy part. The flow rate is the main thing you notice. With a lot of reverse osmosis systems, you learn patience. With this, I do not think about it. A small cup fills in a few seconds. I actually timed a 6-ounce cup around 4 seconds in my kitchen. In real-life terms, I can fill a big pot for pasta without standing there forever. That has changed how often I use filtered water for cooking. I use it more because it is not annoying anymore. That speed comes with a little downside. The initial burst can splash if you put a short glass right under it. I learned to tilt the glass or use a taller container. It is not a deal breaker, it is just something you adapt to. I also hear the unit working. There is a low hum when it is filtering and during its automatic flush cycles. It is not loud, but in a quiet kitchen you will notice it. After about a week I stopped paying attention, but if you are very sensitive to appliance noise, you should know it is not silent. Taste is the reason I keep using it. The water coming out tastes clean. The chlorine smell I used to get from my tap is gone. The system also adds minerals back in, and that changes the feel of the water. It is not that chalky mineral water taste, it is more that it stops tasting flat. My coffee and tea taste smoother to me, and I notice less bitterness. I'm not going to claim health effects, because I cannot prove anything like that from daily use, but I can speak confidently about taste and smell improvements in my kitchen. I did some basic checking with a handheld meter. One thing that confused me at first was the total dissolved solids reading on the faucet screen versus what I got on my handheld meter. They did not match. After living with it, I think the simple explanation is that once you add minerals back in, the number can go up a bit by design. A higher total dissolved solids number is not automatically bad if what you are measuring is added minerals. What I care about more is consistency. The water tastes the same day to day, and I'm not getting that random tap water funk depending on the day. This model also has an ultraviolet light built in. I treat that as extra reassurance, not as the main reason to buy it. My practical question with any ultraviolet setup in a fast-flowing system is contact time. Ultraviolet treatment needs enough exposure time to do its job. With water moving this quickly, that time window is short. I am not saying it does nothing. I am saying I do not personally treat it as my main protection. For me, the reverse osmosis process and the overall filtration are the core of it, and the ultraviolet is just there in the background. I also want to mention something I ran into while researching and reading lab discussions online. I found a report that mentioned trace antimony detected in filtered water on this model that was reportedly not present in the source water, with the explanation pointing to materials associated with reverse osmosis membranes. I have not personally sent my own water to a lab yet, so I cannot confirm that in my house. But I think it is worth being aware of, especially if you are the type of person who tracks metals closely or you have specific health concerns. If that topic worries you, the most practical move is not guessing. Get a mail-in lab test and check your own water because your source water and your conditions matter. Maintenance has been straightforward. The filters twist out and twist in without tools, and I did not end up with water all over the cabinet. The system shuts off the water during swaps, and then you reset the filter life and run a flush. That is the kind of maintenance I will actually keep up with, because it is not a whole Saturday project. The only issue I have had is replacement availability. At one point, a replacement filter was out of stock when I checked. I do not like being forced to rush around when it is time to change filters, so I keep a spare set on hand now. In real-use scenarios, this is where it has fit into my routine. I fill water bottles back to back without waiting. I fill a kettle for tea quickly. I can use filtered water for cooking without thinking about it. The set volume dispensing is something I did not expect to care about, but I use it constantly because it helps me avoid overflows when I am multitasking. It is one of those small quality of life things that you notice once you have it. As for smart features, the faucet display is basically the smart part I interact with. It shows filter life and a total dissolved solids reading, and it does it without me having to open anything on my phone. That is honestly how I prefer it for a water filter. If you are hoping for a deep phone-based experience, this is not really that kind of product in day-to-day life. I do not want another app for my sink. I just want to know when the filter needs changing and whether something looks off. The display gives me that. So here is where I land after using it. The biggest strengths are the speed, the space savings from being tankless, the simple filter swaps, and the way the water tastes in normal daily drinks like coffee and tea. The limitations are real too. Installation can be a project, especially if you need to drill a counter or deal with an outlet that is not always on. The faucet style will not match every kitchen, and it can loosen over time if you do not tighten it well. The unit makes some noise when it is running. And if you are someone who gets concerned about trace metal discussions like the antimony conversation, you might want to plan on doing your own lab test for peace of mind. If you are in a rental and you cannot drill holes, this is going to be harder to justify. If you want a more traditional-looking faucet, you might not love the look. If you are comfortable with a bit of installation work, or you are willing to hire help, and you care about having a lot of filtered water available quickly, this system has worked well for me in everyday use. If you have questions about my setup or anything you want me to test with it, leave it in the comments. Subscribe to the channel for more real-world reviews, and tell me what water filter system you are using right now and what you like or hate about it. Thank you for watching.